Brad Parks, go-to-market and product for Morpheus Data. What I want to do right now is just show you a little bit about the Morpheus platform, give you the highlight reel. If we just have a handful of minutes, I'm going to give you the tasting menu. We can come back later and do the extended cut. So Morpheus, at its heart, was designed to help end users, right, developers, database analysts, very quickly get access to the resources that they need by orchestrating all these end-to-end workflows that traditionally have had to happen with manual handoffs across different tools. So to do that, I'm actually going to go in and provision a workload. So if I go into the Morpheus portal, I click in Instances, I'm going to go into Add an Instance, and I get my service catalog. So Morpheus comes out of the box with a number of default images, but usually we're going to integrate with your golden image templates. What are the databases, the data analytics tools, the web services, the VMs, the types of things that your business uses? That's what would be in this catalog. So I'm just going to pick a SQL database. We'll keep it easy. MySQL. One of the things you'll see here is this little symbol here means that this instance can be provisioned either as a VM-based instance into something like VMware or VM Essentials, or a container-based instance. So I'm going to click MySQL. I'm going to hit Next. Now, as a user, I'm a member of a group, and I have a given role. In this case, they've made me an application administrator, which means I get a lot of bells and whistles exposed. If I were a lower level, junior admin, I may have less instances exposed. So I'm going to pick the demo group. That's going to then inform which clouds I have access to provision into. So I'm going to provision into our VMware cluster environment. And you see right here, this is an example of a naming policy. One of the benefits of Morpheus is the ability to put policies around different aspects of this provisioning experience. In this case, it's a naming policy. Our admin doesn't want me naming this database after my cat. We're going to force a corporate naming policy standard. So I'm going to hit Next. Now I get some choices. Just like I would up in like the AWS portal, I get those same choices for my on-prem environment. So I'm going to pick a version of the software. That in turn is going to grab the right bits to deploy this. I mentioned I could do this as a container or a VM. In this case, I'm going to do it as a VMware-backed database. Now I get to pick a t-shirt size. So how much CPU or memory, how big and powerful do I need this box to be? So I'm going to pick a 2 CPU, 8 gig machine, and you can see that this form is changing every time I make a selection. And if we zoom in, you can see that this 2 CPU, 8 gig machine is going to cost $44 a month. This is a price plan that my admin has put forth in this VMware environment. They know what kind of compute this is going to be attached to, what kind of storage it's going to be attached to, and they can price it accordingly so that finance gets to keep track of everything I do, how much this machine is being utilized. And they can then use that to do things like chargeback and showback for a project I might be on. If I click this little $ here, this tooltip is also going to show me other clouds that I have permission to provision into. So this same machine that's costing me $44 a month on premises, I can see here if I were to provision this into EC2 in AWS, it would be $91.85. And we're synchronizing these price plans on a nightly basis. So it's giving me near real-time visibility into what my alternatives might be so that I can make smart choices as a user. Obviously, I want to save the company some money. I'm going to stick with my on-premises VM here. I'm going to provision it into my VMware, but $44 even is a little steep. I don't think I really need this much horsepower. I'm just going to provision a 1 gig or a 1 CPU box with 4 gigs of memory. I'm going to select a resource pool inside this VMware environment. Now this machine is going to need a network. It's going to need some storage. So here I'm seeing I can add disks to this. I can add a SCSI disk, give it a certain size. I can add multiple disks. I need to select a network for this to run on. And here, this network is actually attached to an IP address management system, in this case, Infoblox. So it's going to automatically go reach out to Infoblox and get an IP address for this database from Infoblox from an IP pool. So without having to engage the networking team to go request an IP address, it's just going to happen automatically. It's going to save lots of time over the course of these steps. I can put my user credentials on this machine or my entire development team if I want. I'm going to skip the advanced options for now and just click Next. So the next wizard, I can attach automation to this machine. So if I want to connect to things like Ansible or Chef or PowerShell, I have this very rich task engine inside Morpheus that lets me run these automation tasks across the life cycle of this machine. So if I have certain scripts that I need to run every time this machine is started, stopped, or maybe at teardown to clean up after itself, I can bring those automation scripts into Morpheus and then connect them to this machine so that somebody's not having to manually run those tasks inside IT. It helps you maintain a very efficient workflow. I can deploy code or a database schema or a website if this were a web server. We have built-in deployments. I can connect a backup job to this machine. I can even set backup as a policy. So for example, if this was going into production instead of test and development, I could attach a backup policy that it always has a backup job. And Morpheus integrates with lots of backup tools like Veeam, Commvault, Cohesity, others. In this case, I have Veeam attached to this VMware cluster. So I can say, let's create a new backup job for this database. I can put it on a schedule, connect it to a backup device like an HPE store once. I can set up a backup job. Now, if I need a higher level of RPO, RTO, I could do replication. So I have integration into things like Zerto if I want to set up a replication set for this database. I can do that all at one time without having to go engage my storage admin. Lastly, I want to show examples of some lifecycle policies. So if I want to set a power schedule for this machine, that could be very important in the public cloud where you're charged as long as this machine is running. So here I can set a power schedule and Morpheus will actually shut this machine down, let's say at 7 p.m., start it back up at 7 a.m. That's going to save me 12 hours, especially in the public cloud, of this machine running and ranking up charges. Or even on premises, if I want to be more sensitive to things like power and cooling, I can set things like power schedules. I can have this machine shut down after a certain amount of time. And in this case, our lab manager doesn't want our SEs or me to run away with our resources. So this machine's going to shut itself down in 1 day. And it's actually going to expire and then delete in 2 days. So I can clean up after myself. And this is important because oftentimes people see kind of zombie VMs in their environment where it may not even be used for a project anymore, but it's still charging you in the public cloud, or it's still taking up resources on-prem. So lifecycle policies is a core part of how Morpheus helps IT. So I'm going to click Next, and that's it. I'm going to get a nice little summary of what I've requested. I can hit Complete, and now this machine is going off in provisioning. That end-to-end workflow, all of those steps that you saw me run through, in a traditional IT environment, that could take hours, if not days, or even weeks sometimes for the networking team, the VMware team, the storage team, the backup administrator to all coordinate so that I, as an end user, get the database that I need. This really is what we mean when we say bring the public cloud experience on-prem, because I just went to a portal, made a couple of choices, and I was able to get what I wanted on demand. The last piece I want to show you is actually something we call our simple catalog experience. So here I've shown you as a power user, all of those steps where I needed to turn the knobs and dials. I wanted those advanced options. But one of the other core parts of the platform is we have this persona-based approach to user management. So if I go in as a service catalog persona, I get a very simplistic user interface. So I can take that same request here. If I want let's see an example. If I need a database, let me search my catalog real quick. Let's see what kind of MySQL instances I have. Here you go. Here's a VMware MySQL database. If I go in as a service catalog user, this could be my default or my only user experience. I click order. All I have to do is give this database a password. Everything else, every other choice has been locked down by my administrator. So I give it a password. It's going to cost me $24 a month. I don't even get to pick how big it is. I hit order now, and I'm done. So in just one click, literally, I've got a fully production-ready database. It's in the background being provisioned, and in a couple of minutes, it'll be ready for me to use. So hopefully that was a good tasting menu of what Morpheus can bring to your enterprise. If you have any other questions, we look forward to talking to you.